Welcome again to Late Night Parents. My name is Ted Hicks. Ways to follow the show at latenightparents.com. You can find our Facebook, Twitter, some videos, some podcasts, all the above. That's latenightparents.com. But we do this with the best, well, almost all the best team that's here. But the tag team partner, Richie V, is in the building.
As he hits the levels that he did. What's going on, man?
What's up?
You know, I mean, granted, it's been a while, but for us in here in the studio, it's Happy New Year.
Yeah, it's Happy New Year. Happy 2018.
Yeah, it's the first time, man. First time recording live together this year.
I know. I always wanted to say this. I got to stop this right now before we say, thanking our listeners and viewers to the web show and the people that host our show and everything else like that. I always wanted to say, hey, Rich, turn my headphones up. I'm kind of thinking I was playing Watch the Throne as I was coming in.
Yo, Eli. Yeah. Oh, and that Eli?
Yes.
I know that Eli.
Oh, you know that Eli?
Yes.
All right. But a lot to talk about. New year, new show. We're going to have a soon-to-be outfitted in a new studio, state-of-the-art.
I'm waiting to see it. I know you had a preview of the new location.
It's phenomenal. And we do this with the best engineer.
Yes, we do.
On the planet.
Brian out there. Holla.
But yeah, we're back. Same us. Same show.
Yep.
New year.
Yep.
Like I said, a lot to cover. So, we talk technology, education, sports, product reviews, parenting. We talk about some of those topics that people don't want to talk about, but we kind of broach everything. Tonight, it's a tech-centric show, and I kind of like this.
Okay. Well, this is our wheelhouse, if you will.
Right. We don't get to do this too often.
No, I think we end up, quarterly doing this one big tech-stravaganza episode, it seems.
Okay.
We always do one that just hits everything.
Yeah.
Come down.
But we get to the point where kind of tech and media and everything intersect.
Yep.
So the first question I have to ask you, after, drumroll please, when are we going to CES?
I think that's the question for you and all the contacts that you make.
When are we going to CES? Because every year, we're sitting here on the web, and people are emailing us. Yeah, this is coming out.
This looks great.
Hey, I'm going to be in booth 74, 75 if you want to stop by. And I'm like, I'm in New York. What are you talking about? Good question.
Someone next year.
We need sponsorship, folks.
We need sponsorship, and we will always review your product.
Yes.
And we will give you honest reviews.
Oh, yeah.
So, someone out there, we could go to CES next year. Thank you.
Seriously. I'm really, we're going to put that on the calendar.
Yep.
That's something I really want to go to because did you see Floyd Mayweather?
No.
He was demoing his new invention, kind of like VR and fitness.
Okay.
So he's thinking about things after boxing. Well, when you have, I don't know, $500,000.
It's ridiculous.
Excuse me, $500 million.
$500 million.
Well, $500 million.
Yeah.
You can sit here and go in on Bitcoin and everything else like that.
Oh, so do we think he is really in after boxing mode now?
No.
You think the retirement's real?
No, I don't think it's real.
Yeah, I didn't think
because
so either.
If a payday makes sense,
he'll do it.
He'll do it.
Yep.
He'll do it.
Yep.
And he'll do the Floyd type. He'll give you the
show.
Floyd type fight / show.
Right.
Won't knock the guy out.
Right.
We'll embarrass him. And we'll show you how he's still pound for pound the best technical fighter.
Right.
So, one thing that came up, and I'm sure you saw it because I saw it, the Laundry Pod Challenge or the Tide Pod Challenge. What in the world is going on, Rich?
I wish I could answer that question because now, all right, so for those who may not be aware, so I guess we have to mention the brand because that has just been what's come out. So for those who do laundry, and you have those little pod things, little plastic bubble encased detergent. I guess it's the detergent and maybe some fabric softener and all that all in one or whatever the case may be. But they're in these plastic bubble wrapped, basically little packets,
right,
about an inch cube size. I can understand where if a toddler was to be waddling by while mom was doing the laundry, and said toddler saw this sitting down, said toddler may go to grab for it because they're a little bright orange and bright blue, and they look colorful. They look like if it was candy, it might taste good. So yeah, someone under the age of 2 might be, might tend to want to grab it. So they had already started a campaign just to make parents aware that you got to keep it safe, you got to keep these out of the range of children, and so forth. But now it seems that some teenagers are out there with this tie challenge to see how long they can put this stuff in their mouth.
Yes.
I mean, I remember, I don't know about you, but, the joke when we were growing up, if you said something, some bad words came out of your mouth.
Yes.
You're going to sit on and chew on a piece of soap for a little bit.
Correct.
And that stuff tasted nasty. I remember that. But those are other stories. But, this is, besides the fact it's poisonous, basically.
It is. It's poisonous.
What kind of nonsense are these kids thinking these days? Where all right, this makes any type of sense at all to try and go out there and put this in your mouth? I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's once again the evil side of social media.
Okay.
I think it's you have a few knuckleheads out there that experience this type of stuff.
Right.
Then they turn around and put it up on their Facebook and their YouTube page.
Right.
And I don't know. It's kind of one person sees it, the word gets around, and then the next person, and then next thing you know, you got 15 to 100 to 300 people trying it, and then you have an issue.
But it's I guess because we are adults, and I can think of no time in my life where I would have said, "Oh yeah, let me try that. Let me see how long I can hold this poisonous soap in my mouth." It's just stupid. But maybe this is a generational thing.
So if you do know anyone who has eaten a laundry detergent pod, they can call the National Poison Help Hotline at 1-800-222-1222 or text POISON to 797979 and save the number in your phone.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll need to save it in my phone or if you need to save it in your phone.
Because we've mentioned it, I'll think about it. And I think what I would do regardless would be just calling 911.
Yes.
As always, the best solution.
True.
You're going to get right through to your local emergency services. But I hope I never have to make this call, especially for this reason, because this just doesn't make sense. So for those younger listeners out there, don't do this. It doesn't make any sense. Don't do it. And it's not a joke.
Truthfully, don't fall to peer pressure, or this is something that's bad.
Right. You end up in the hospital, and once you wake up and they're pumping your stomach, suddenly it's not nearly as funny as it was.
Not at all.
20 minutes earlier.
Not at all. But this is Late Night Parents with Rich and Ted. Ways to follow the site, latenightparents.com. Rich, something else that has touched home with us, Spectre and Meltdown.
The world is susceptible to this. This isn't the software now. We're talking the hardware has an issue.
You're talking hardware.
All devices. This isn't just
every
quote-unquote PCs.
Yes.
This isn't Macs. This isn't just phones. This is everything.
Across the board.
Across the board. You got to think, though, this has been out there for years.
Yes.
And, there were a couple of students out there just looking to figure out issues, looking for problems, and stumbled upon this.
You always have a hacker looking to exploit something.
Right.
You always have, someone that person that's curious.
Right.
They're more on the lines of being a power user. They're not just, a consumer of technology.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been manipulated, and as you said earlier, it's across the board because it's hardware. I mean,
fortunately, at this point, at least, the big vendors, Apple, Microsoft, they're saying, especially Apple, they're saying that the flaw had affected none of their customers, that they haven't seen it out there in the wild yet, which is good. I think most of the times what happens in these situations when these items get released, they've already been released to the vendors. The vendors are aware and can be working on patches already, so that when it does get out into the wild, it's not like the malware writers can also jump on it right away and no one's able to be protected. But the big protection on this goes back to something we always say every time. I know I preach this.
Yes,
I know you preach this.
Yep.
Do your updates
when
they're released. Now, there is sometimes a caveat, which in this case did happen. So, Microsoft and Apple, Microsoft jumped right on this, provided updates to protect their customers from these issues. And one of those updates was causing bugs and crashes on, I know I saw some related specifically to AMD processor-based systems. I didn't see anything specifically for Intel-based. That's what I read. But, so if you were one of those that jumped right away before they identified that there was an issue with the update, okay, you might have had some issues. But I still say, generally, when updates are released, install them. They're released because there is a known security issue, a known bug. That's the only reason why updates get put out there. Install your updates. Protect your systems.
Worst case scenario, if you're not sure about this and you haven't updated, yes, update your machine. But in worst case scenarios, for the folks that aren't tech savvy, you can go to meltdownattack.com. I know that website sounds a little scary, meltdownattack.com, because it'll provide the plain English details on what to do.
It's good that they're making this as simple as possible for the end users, and in plain English, and something that anyone can read and understand what the vulnerabilities are, what it is in the processor, or why Spectre is a little harder of an exploit than Meltdown is. So yeah, definitely everyone, you should go to meltdownattack.com, read the white papers that are there, valuable information, and install those updates.
Something you and I were going to do a standalone pod on was basically the pros and cons of net neutrality.
Yeah.
It comes down to the point of, do I want my items bundled? Do I not want them bundled? And am I willing to pay extra, the premium, noting that the game start?
See, it goes beyond the bundling. Sure, that is definitely a part of it. But then the flip side of it is, should the providers be allowed to filter traffic based upon the source of the traffic?
Right.
So, if it's Ted's ISP, nationwide company, Ted's ISP, nationwide company, is a part owner of Nemo's streaming services business and streams all around the world. And Rich's ISP company, also another national company, has Linda's streaming service that broadcasts around the world. And Rich wants Linda's streaming service to get priority over Nemo's streaming service.
Right.
So Rich says, you know what? Linda's service is going to get all the bandwidth it needs when it goes out to the world. But when I see traffic coming in from Nemo's service, I'm going to slow that down just a little bit so it doesn't work quite as right, because I want mine to be better.
What I just said 3 minutes ago, the game's afoot.
The game is afoot. I mean, it's, of course, in the end, it all comes down to money. It's all about the dollar.
Totally.
This is, the corporate world, the corporate side of things. Their argument is, okay, we want to favor our customers. Our customers are paying us. We should be able to give our customer the best service possible. But again, it's not up to the business to filter out and control what's coming down the line. Everything should be open. If you want to charge your customers, X amount for a better bandwidth, sure, no problem. That's perfectly fair. But don't start filtering it.
Right.
Based upon its source, or based upon if you've got a contract with another company, or someone's on your board from another company, or anything like that.
You're going to have a different experience if you have a 10 meg connection or a 1 gig connection.
Yes, you will.
There's going to be things that you're going to be limited on with the 10 meg versus the 1 gig. Mm-hmm. There's going to be standards and formats and all the above that you will have to make that choice.
Right.
But that's on you.
That's on you, correct.
That's not these providers deciding, hey, I don't want you streaming Netflix because we have X amount of ownership in Hulu and we want you to buy Hulu.
Right.
Versus some other folks that are like, hey, we want you to use your Amazon Video.
Right. Or let's go even further with freedom of speech type challenges where a vendor says, I'm not going to let you watch this television show because it's produced by someone whose political views we don't agree with or whose religious views we don't agree with.
Correct.
And these things have happened already, and they have gone to court. Situations just like the ones we're describing.
Right. I think, we have to remember that, those regulations are put in place for a reason.
Right.
Kind of to stiff arm some of these conglomerates.
Right.
Because, in the end, it's the consumer that's going to get screwed
for it. So, but I think the challenge is, or the debate is really coming down to now, is your internet service a utility?
Right.
Or is it is something optional? And more, I think we would agree that it's closer and closer to becoming a true utility that you need for day-to-day life. Now, again, I'm not saying, like you were just saying, if you got a gig connection versus a meg connection, there's going to be huge differences in your quality of service.
Right.
But regardless, we all now need internet service at one point or another for everything. Even if it just comes down to the internet service you have on your phone to get your email, your connection. But of course, now it's phones at home, it's your television. Every phones that are IP, TV services are really truly coming over the internet now. Let's face it, that's what Fios is. It's coming over, over our fiber optic network service. So that's where this is all going to boil down to, I think, as it gets closer and closer to a head.
Pretty good. It's something that's out there. You have, as we've mentioned before, all the big companies are involved.
Yep.
But I like to say they're involved for their own benefit.
And that's everyone should be involved. And I have no problem with a company wanting to make money. That's why they're out there. But don't do that to the detriment of someone who's not your customer. Sure. Let's face it. Everyone who has an infrastructure out there, you got to keep up with it, and it's expensive. You have to charge.
It is.
Again, I'll mention Verizon because they're the big one in our region of the country. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was all copper.
It was all
right?
copper,
and you were calling, and you had your modem.
Yep.
Or you had one of the providers that are in our area, but if you stayed with Verizon, you had DSL.
Yes. Yes.
And then the cable companies came in and were able to offer higher bandwidth more easily. So Verizon started upgrading their backbone. They started putting in more IP based systems across the board. And they started being able to offer better services. But that costs money, and you're talking upgrading cities.
Yes.
States. This is the entire country. So, and they have to charge for it. And that's a bottom line there.
The one thing I do like out of this conversation, but also is connected in a certain way. Mm-hmm. God, you kind of love Google Fiber.
For now.
You kind of love Google Fiber. Just the essence of what it was built on.
Right.
Where in Kansas City or Oklahoma or North Carolina.
Got max technology for the time.
Right, for the time. And what it was doing is forcing competition.
Yes.
Forcing its competitors that, hey, we're going to offer this bundle for $70.
Right.
Where, the competitors are like, hey, I'm getting 200, 180, 220 per customer. What do you mean?
Right.
It's kind of like the Walmart kind of ideology.
Be the big boys out there, just lower the prices across the board and force the competition to follow.
And force them.
Or they lose customers.
Well,
it is a good thing because I think I mentioned to you, Cablevision, Optimum, I still call it Cablevision, but Optimum recently upgraded all their customers.
Really?
For free. I'm looking at TV one day and it says, and I'm sure this is not, well, I can't say sure. I don't believe this is a targeted promotion. Commercial comes up from Optimum. Because you're such a good customer.
We love you.
We're upgrading your service.
Because you always pay the bill on time.
Yeah, they did say that. We're upgrading your service to 200 meg.
Really?
And what did Rich do right away?
You clicked yes.
No, there was nothing to click.
Oh.
It was done.
You called them and said...
Well, close.
Okay.
I went on my computer, went to speedtest.net.
Oh, okay.
And said, start test. The dial said 50, 100, 150, 200, stayed at like 205.
Really?
What's up? Upload speeds are still in the 35, 40 range, but that's fine. 200 download.
Wow.
Cross now, and they don't do this just to be altruistic.
No.
Verizon now, Fios is Fios, and you were the big Fios customer.
Yes,
that
still am.
It still are. What's their minimum download available?
Maximum is a gig.
Right, max is a gig. Whew.
Max is a gig. And they're just throwing out 100,
right.
200.
Throwing out 200 like all day, every day.
Just here, take it.
So that's a case of right there. It's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it really is a good thing. It really is a good thing. Because like I said, competition is good.
Yes.
Competition. Because people get fat and lazy, these companies, and they just like, hey, we got it in the bag because they believe they're the only game in town.
Right.
When they're not.
Right.
So as a consumer, you have to stay informed. Once again, Late Night Parents, this is Rich and Ted, ways to follow the show, latenightparents.com. We want to give a big shout out to our home station, 1240 AM WGBB. As we mentioned at the top of the show, the web show will start, I believe,
a couple more weeks.
Yeah, a couple more weeks, maybe a month or so.
You know what I need? I need a new sign that also has the FM call sign.
That would be nice.
Because I never remember that.
That would be nice.
FM call sign on a new sign along with the AM call sign.
I mean, this is stuff we put in with the big wigs.
Yep.
And we leave it there. I mean, we don't want to rattle the cage too much.
Not too much. But then again, I know you've had the preview. I haven't seen the new location yet.
Looking forward to it. Awesome. But also speaking about awesome, Rich, on latenightparents.com, we published a post this past week because it seemed too good to be true. Locast, a non-profit, launches free New York City streaming TV service. But the big question is it legal? If you go to Locast, LOCAST.org, enable your location, broadcast channels are available. Over-the-air broadcast. Broadcast channels are available.
So now you have to enable your location. So I have not tested this, but if you put in, or if you let it enable your location and you are not in the New York City area, what happens?
Good question.
Because, I mean, I know the questions here is obviously the legality of the situation.
Right.
Now, if they are broadcasting over the air with no advertising, direct streaming, and they limit it only to the locations where the same signals could be reached by over-the-air antennas, I'd say there might, well, I guess the law is always cut and dry, right? But that, I wouldn't see that necessarily being illegal. They're not making any money off of it. They're broadcasting in the same locations that would be reached by the air. I don't know.
It's a company that's based in Ronkonkoma. Sports Fan Coalition, New York.
Okay.
And like I said, primarily New York markets, 14 broadcast channels via the internet. So if you wanted to watch I don't know, football or tennis or
Right.
whatever today, and it's
Right.
over the air, you go to this website
And
you
watch
click on
it.
the channel, and it's up
Without having to have the antenna.
without having to have the antenna. I want to give a big shout out to Ant-Op Antenna. Starting
Right.
to do some work with them. Got an antenna for you.
Oh, nice. What type of device do they provide?
Just indoor-outdoor antennas.
Oh, very good.
And, just something for the cord cutters.
Yep.
And it's there's some people that just can't afford cable.
Right.
These cable packages.
Right.
So, or there's some people that just want basic channels.
And again, us living in a major metropolitan area, let me tell you, I told you, I put up one of those antennas at my mother's apartment in her bedroom TV, stuck it in the window. She's in an apartment complex, 7th floor, so she's got, good view, clear shot of the city. And she gets like 40-some channels.
Yes.
It's all the New York channels. It's a lot of the Connecticut channels. It's all the side 21s, 25s, 20, up into the 40s.
The Ion channel and all this other stuff.
All this, and high def.
So the
All
question is
major
this. The question is this. This just might be legal because now the sports
Right.
part is one
That's
thing.
one thing, right.
That's one thing.
Right.
But I'm wondering because how much different is this streaming it across the internet versus you getting the antenna
and plug. That's why I ask the questions. If they're only making this available to the areas where the broadcast signal reaches,
only New York. But the folks at Ant-Op going to get them on in the next couple of weeks.
awesome.
Like I said, it's primarily geared towards cord cutters.
Right.
Primarily geared towards that.
I'd love to test that.
Yeah. I think it's cool. So, want to go into an article that was pushed yesterday, and it was relevant because the NFL playoffs, very, very important to some folks. Sports lovers.
The sports lovers. But no, playoff. This is when I start to watch.
Right.
I didn't watch any today, but this is when I start to watch.
So, available on the Yahoo Sports app will be the playoffs, the NFL playoffs,
Right.
for the remainder of the season.
That's great. That's awesome because, I think that just gives more availability. Yahoo's paying for this, for one.
Of course.
So it's not like this is free. This is not like it's undermining broadcast TV in any way, shape, or form. This is now the guy who's at work and can't watch TV traditionally. He can now pull out his phone, look at the app, and view. Or sit there in the office and view. No problem.
And it's not contingent on a specific user's mobile network or package.
Right.
So, once again, what we were just talking about, cord cutting and bundling.
Yep.
Kind of getting away from that. But Yahoo can do this because Verizon just cut a deal to stream NFL games on their devices. And guess what? Verizon owns Yahoo.
Right. So there it's done. But again, now if we didn't have net neutrality,
right,
then we'll just pick a name because Verizon's one half of this. So AT&T could say, "Oh no, sorry, we're not going to let you guys view this."
True.
If it wasn't for net neutrality.
That's true.
So great timing on giving an example of that.
One honorable mention is in the 2018 football season, next season, viewers can watch regular season games within their market on the app. So then, once again,
there you go.
Location services.
Location services, yep.
Oh, you can watch the Jets or the Giants or the Buffalo Bills.
And I wonder if they really mean. I wonder if that means it'll be the regular season broadcast game. So just even if it's you still have blackout areas, right? So I wonder if even if it's in a blackout television area, you'll be able to view it on the app.
Good question. Very, very good question. Something else that came up, Rich, and this is where media, internet, and everything kind of intersect. Sheryl Sandberg and I believe, was it Jack Dorsey, who are part of the Disney board?
Yep.
They won't be renewed, or they won't be seeking re-election to the Disney board. It's starting.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Conflict
starting.
of interest. Here we go.
It's starting. You got to think about it because it's about the social media giants. If there's different spaces, and if they want to just stay in a space that's just, hey, log on to my social media page and do XYZ, talk about either your favorite team or talk about your pictures of your cat,
Right.
then they're okay with it.
Right.
But now, I mean, what's going on? These social media giants, they're streaming sports and other media and TV shows.
Disney territory.
And generating TV shows.
And Twitter.
And Twitter.
Broadcasting.
By the day, you
Yep.
have a new show out there. Even though I still haven't found a main page where you can find, like, where all the stuff is airing for the day on Twitter. I haven't found that. I'm not saying it's not out there.
Right. Maybe someone out there can shoot us a message, let us know.
But if you have Facebook streaming college football,
Right.
and, Twitter had its own pregame show,
Right.
you got to think about it. Disney owns ESPN. That's encroaching on their territory. This kind of feels like an episode of The Wire.
Avon.
I'm telling you. So I've just for 2 minutes, I kind of get the feeling it's season 3, episode 4. Marlo's in the game. Stringer and Avon are just like, okay, you know what? We're going to reach over into your areas. We're going to put these guys over here,
Right.
and we're going to work together while we're basically have our hands in your pocket.
In your pocket.
And Marlo was like, oh, heck no, you're
Right.
not. And a war ensued, and Avon went to prison, and Stringer died, and Marlo went in. But if you think about it, Disney is like, wait a minute. We purchased Fox.
Mm-hmm.
We have ESPN. Mm-hmm. You guys are kind of leaning over into our area, our markets.
Right.
You're making it harder for us. While at the same time, you got to think about it. Disney is like, hey, Netflix, we're going to pull all of our Disney and Pixar and
Right.
Star Wars and Marvel shows.
Because we're starting our own channel.
But guess what? Don't be surprised if they start pulling some of their Fox
Right.
entertainment.
They can. This puts, the streaming businesses, this puts the Netflixes, not so much Hulu actually, but it does put them on the defensive.
It surely does.
I mean, you see Universal is now co-opting Spike Channel.
Spike
on
TV?
cable is now Universal TV.
Really?
Yes. And they're going to start putting Universal properties out on there. They've started advertising, and there'll be some previews. I think also Disney was doing a classic movie preview. I believe it was this weekend. So we're seeing a little bit of the rumblings here, some shuffling, some chess playing, I think, in some of these providers.
Rich, space is only so big.
Right.
So I'm going to say something to you.
Mm-hmm.
Online media companies say there's not enough TV. Traditional media companies say there's too much TV. So the Disney and the Fox are saying there's too much TV out there.
Right.
There's too many options. And then the Netflix of the world and the Amazons of the
There's
world.
not enough
There's
options.
not enough. There's not enough. What's your take on that?
I'm not going to go to the extreme and say either one is correct, because clearly Netflix can keep on making content and it's being consumed. Of course, not everything they put out there is liked and viewed, so we see many things that end up being cut after a season or 2 seasons. But it's not really it's the consumers that decide this.
Right.
I mean, if you were to have asked that question of the same group of people 5 years ago, I would still come back with the same answer, because you and I were still of that age. I remember 3 channels basically.
Right.
You know, it was CBS, ABC, NBC. Okay, Channel 11, Channel 5. All right, so the 13 on the dial, and that was it. And that's all there was, and it turned off at 2:00 in the morning.
Correct.
So, and at the time, that's all we needed.
Sure.
It's not like we thought, I need to be able to look at more. No, this is it. That's all there is. As more became available, we started consuming more and more and more. So, you know, I think the limitation still is there's only 24 hours in a day.
Correct.
And you only have 10 of it, 12 of it to potentially view anything.
Right.
So, do we have enough? If it stopped now, would it be damaging? If we didn't get any more productions, if we capped out now,
right,
that'd be fine.
All right,
sure. But if not, keep on bringing more because it's still going to filter itself out.
You just took me back. So we're in
watching the flag play in black and white.
Yes, but we're in Southeast Jamaica, Queens.
I was there too.
Going to say I was working at a gas station.
Which one?
Texaco on Merrick and 234.
Yes, I know that one.
Okay, so I was working there, and I remember having, and I thought this was a great thing. We had HBO and WHT.
WHT. Do you remember what WHT stood for?
I do not. I could Google it and cheat, but no. What is it?
Wometco Home Theater. Don't ask me why I remember that, but that's what it stood for. But yes, and you had that box that had the black buttons on it.
Yes.
Tack, 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 tack.
That's it.
It was
That's it.
and that was it.
That's mid-'80s.
Yes, it is.
That's mid-'80s. So from that to fast forward to this.
To now.
Where there's so many shows, you're just like, what's the name of that show again?
Right.
What network is it on?
What channel is it on? The word channel is actually becoming less and less applicable. Yes. It is really, you're right, saying what network is that on, or what service is streaming that. But yeah, and that's what we've come at, and 20 years.
I know. It's crazy. That's really crazy. Once again, this is Late Night Parents, Rich and Ted. Ways to follow the show is latenightparents.com. Going to veer off for a second. Want to throw this out to you. So we know the tax reform that the president and the Senate,
has been signed off on.
House of Reps have signed off, and it's in effect it's going to be in effect for 2019.
Yes.
Going to do a special podcast with Chris Whalen, just trying to narrow down a date.
Okay. Accountant?
Accountant, CPA. Going to talk about what it means. What do these changes mean? And I kind of threw out there the homeowner, the millennial, the elderly person,
right?
The corporation,
right?
The one percenter,
right? Yeah.
So these different scenarios. But a segue from that, I want to throw at you. If you can see this coming in 2018, if I tell you with the tax reform that happened, Apple moved $200 billion that was in Ireland back over to the U.S. Would you be surprised if Apple purchased Netflix? Or do you see that coming?
Surprised?
Do you see it? Would you be surprised? Do you see it coming?
I see them making a move for someone. It only makes sense because they've got what they've got with Apple Music. They can use a serious streaming service. They don't have one. Lord knows they've got the cash to buy just about anyone.
Right.
Netflix would be an interesting one. I don't know. I don't know what the price on Netflix could possibly be, though.
Right.
That would be a big. The number on that.
I think it's valued. The valuation is $88 billion. Right. I mean, Disney spent X amount for Fox, which is $52 billion.
Right.
Hearing $88 billion. Oh, and of that $52 billion for Fox,
right,
the regional sports networks that we used to talk about last summer,
Uh-huh.
$22 billion.
$22 billion.
Of that 52.
Wow. If Netflix becoming an Apple company, just thinking about that.
That's crazy.
I mean, how do they manage that? Do they leave it a separate entity? Do they force you to tie it into having an Apple account, or do they just let it work off your Apple ID, or does it turn into the amount you pay for your Apple subscription now for Apple Music is also tied in to Apple Video Service, kind of like what Amazon does?
Right.
I would not like that idea.
Are you okay? First of all, I don't think it gets by the White House.
No, that's also but that's really encroaching on
White House, FCC, all the above. It doesn't get by them.
No.
Unless they have to. Apple is going to have to do some type of flip.
They'd have to move some manufacturing over here.
Right.
Bring significant number of jobs back, and then they can maybe work a deal.
Potential. Just want to throw that out there because you see a lot of the money is being moved back and forth. Mm-hmm. So explain this to me. So last Thursday, a press release, XYZ companies, Walmart is giving its workers $1,000 bonus.
Right.
An ability for a raise. And, I think Walmart has 2.1 billion employees.
Largest employee in the country. Largest
and I
employer.
think the same day or within 24 hours, Sam's Club, 63 stores
are closing
and becoming distribution centers with no notice.
I don't know what happens there, and you really have to look at the employees since they're not shutting down and it's become a distribution center. Mm-hmm. They still have to provide. They still are employing people.
Not all 63,
right?
But some,
right? But some.
Is this a case of the rich get richer?
Well, that's always the case. Let's just face that. Once you get to a certain amount, you can't spend more than it's going to make almost by itself.
Right.
Am I anywhere near that amount? I don't know. I have to work to make something stay in my pocket.
Right. It's just kind of crazy when you see this type of stuff. You're just like, well, wait a minute. What's going on here? You kind of thinking, you're on Jamaica Avenue.
Mm-hmm. Shell game. Where's the queen?
And then
the queen.
And then you see
boy in the background going, "I got the queen."
And that's Brian.
Yeah, there you go.
And Brian is in the corner. He's like, "Whoa,
I got the queen,
sir. You win." Okay,
thank you.
It just feels dirty.
Prime example of that. I'm going on Facebook, some of my Facebook friends, and someone was talking about, I went into my local store to get my normal bacon, egg, and cheese, which normally is like $4.50, and they rang it up for $6.50.
What?
And went to ask about it and said, the new price is $6.50. And someone else said, I went to my store and same thing, something common went up like $1.50 out of nowhere. And then you start thinking, you did just force a whole bunch of minimum wage adjustments.
Yeah.
That money has to come from somewhere. You can't just say we're going to pay everyone more money and not have that money have to come from something. So prices have to go up. Prices will go up. And don't hate people for raising prices because they got to increase their salaries.
That's true. It's I just, with all of this going on, I think about the independent, small business owners, the mom and pop stores.
Yeah,
how do they survive against these conglomerates?
It's harder and harder.
It really is.
Unless you have been, and they are the ones now that are left just who have been in the neighborhoods forever, and everyone knows them, and they've got to find the niche, or they've got to have the talent. Because even though I know I'll go, I have two big orange big box stores. I'm between two of them, either one 10 minutes away from me. And I have two nice little local hardware stores.
Right.
5 minutes away from me.
Right.
If I think if it's a case of, I want to talk to someone who I'm pretty sure is going to know the details about what I want to do, I'll stop by my mom and pop place.
Right.
But if I know I want the best price,
of course,
and I don't mind looking for it myself, or I can ask someone who might be pretty knowledgeable, I'm going to drive that little bit further and go to the big box store.
Good thought. Good thought. Hey, I want to segue really quick. There's one last topic I want to mention, Rich. Everyone knows Brett Favre.
Yes.
You know, the gunslinger. Well, he recently released a documentary called Shocked.
I heard about this a little bit.
Yeah, and it kind of talks about, you know,
concussions, right?
Concussions and the fact that, you know, an estimated 1.6 between 3.8 million sports-related concussions in the U.S. every year. Mm-hmm. I liked the format. It wasn't even 30 minutes.
Okay. Oh, so this is made to be a 22-minute, half-hour broadcast show.
Yes. And he released it on the web through stadium.com.
Nice.
And they made it available. They're like, hey, we're airing it like every half an hour on the hour.
Okay.
Loved it because it wasn't just totally a Brett Favre-centric episode. Mm-hmm. It talked about, there were 2 or 3 other people.
Okay.
You know, so they had a young girl that, I don't know, she had a concussion. She hit the turf the wrong way. Mm-hmm. All different types of headaches, like all through a high school career, you know, playing career. And it's just like, yeah, I'm still messed up.
So now I'm going to ask you, because I've been there through all that. You've got a young man coming up now that just did his first season of football, if I remember correctly.
It's painful to watch.
What are your thoughts for? So what do you think if? And I hope, of course, that it doesn't happen.
Right.
But the hypothetical.
Hypothetically,
he takes that hit.
We're done.
Okay.
We're done. I spoke with the pediatrician when we signed off on this.
Right.
When he got when he had his physical and everything else like that. Doctor and I, we sat and we talked. You know, it's been his pediatrician since day one.
Right.
And she said, Ted, first hit, only hit, or he falls a certain way, yank him. And I was like, I said, Dr. Herco, I was planning to yank him regardless. Right. So, and I saw a lot of helmet to helmet this year.
Yeah, because they don't under that first couple of years, they're just learning how to barely learning how to move the ball, let alone control themselves to properly hit.
Right.
When it's not a setup and it's in practice.
Right. It's painful, Rich.
Yeah.
Painful. You're sitting there and you're just cringing. And most of the games, Pam didn't go because she didn't want to see this.
Right. Okay.
She didn't want to see this. So I'm standing there, and he was the aggressor.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, all right. Because there was one time he hit someone and it was illegal. They flagged him. And I was like, hey.
He's learning how to hit.
Right. I was like, Rocky, come here.
Hey, yo, Dad.
You know, it's just like explaining to him on the way back why he was penalized.
Yep.
And I think I told you it was an 8-game season, regular season.
Right.
Game 6, he got thrown out because him and the opposing team, one of the guys, they were mixing it up.
Right.
Got a little rough. You know, the guy pushed him. He jumped right in the guy's face. And the ref was like,
both of y'all done, out.
and they were suspended the next game.
Okay, good.
So
good.
Point taken.
Force it now. Good.
Point taken. They understood,
right.
And just had to explain it to him.
Right.
But the Brett Favre story was excellent. They need to do more stuff like this. There needs to be more player tribune type things where athletes kind of bypass the media and
right.
just
and
drop
and tell their story.
Tell their story. I think it's great.
It definitely is. The question is though, will there be a time, or will it ever get to the point where there are enough athletes coming out about this where even more changes are made? Or maybe the question is, and I know we're getting a little short on time, and we're segueing a little bit here, but since you are the big sports guy, do you think that changes need to be made, besides what has already been done over the years?
If I watched the NFL this season, and you saw the amount of players that experience a concussion, or you're sitting and watching someone's flinching and the arms are wailing and on the floor, and then someone picks them up and then they're calling the next play, you know something has to be done. Scary situation. Very, very scary situation. So as we come to a close, some sad news to share with our listeners. Received a message last night. Our good friend of the show, who's been on our show here a couple of times, C.S. Keys, passed away last night. San Diego's finest. He's, a juggernaut, a broadcaster for many, many years out in West Coast San Diego area. The host of the C.S. Keys pregame show on the Mighty 1090. I've been on that show about 10 times to talk sports and everything, and we would kind of like repay the favor to each other, jumping on different shows. So really sad. Prayers go out to his family, his daughter mostly. He loved her a lot. Shocking news.
That is. I mean, you never know when it can happen. I know what I read before coming to the studio. There was nothing as far as details, the cause as of yet, but it was not questionable. It wasn't suspicious.
Right.
So that's important as well. Right. So condolences definitely to C.S. Keys' family. I remember the conversation with the man. Never had a chance to meet him.
Right.
But funny guy, definitely.